Hey everyone, it's Schmuckles. Don't mind my hair, I just got out of the shower. Today we're going to talk about the most hyped licenses for Dead by Daylight in 2022. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I'm also live on Twitch right now. We're going to be streaming Dead by Daylight, then Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I'm going to be streaming FNAF until I get through all 5 of the nights, which I've never done before, and then Slender the Arrival after that. This is live on Twitch right now, link in the description below. We did a most hyped licenses tournament last year, and then I did another one this year in 2022 over the summer, and we got different results, and I wanted to share those results with you. I actually set up the polls differently this year than last year. This year you could vote for as many licenses as you wanted in one gigantic poll. The tournament we did in 2021 was more of like a group stages and then knockout rounds. So some of the really big licenses went up against like a huge license like Jason or FNAF really early on and got eliminated and therefore didn't really place in the top 10. We also had the opportunity to add a ton of different licenses into the tournament this year. There was way more than 32 licenses this year. Some of them came straight off the satisfaction survey, and other ones I just added because I heard that they were hyped through word of mouth. So all of the licenses that are coming on your screen right now are actually licenses that were in the tournament but did not place in the top 10. So I consider these licenses to be more niche licenses. Let me know if there's any licenses that you don't see here and that are also not in the top 10 that you'd like to see in Dead by Daylight, just so I kind of know what licenses to include in the future in these tourneys. I know some people really want DC or Marvel villains to come into Dead by Daylight as a new killer. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Do you think that these IPs should be in the tourneys or not? I have a couple quick announcements before we jump into the top 10. Number one is, as soon as this video went live, I did a most hyped licenses tourney again in my Discord server, which includes my Discord and Twitch community. So if you want to vote in those polls, definitely join my Discord. The link for my Discord is in the description below. As soon as this video went live, I put the polls live in the news and updates tab of my Discord. And number two is, I just introduced a brand new line of Schmuckles merchandise on my Streamlabs store website. Pretty much everything that's there now is Don't Mind My Hair, I Just Woke Up merch. I have a lot of ideas for new merchandise that's going to come in the future, but this is the first wave of merchandise that I'm actually officially releasing. This is like the big announcement for my merchandise. Also, some of the merch has my logo in the design, some don't. Personally, I kind of enjoy merchandise that doesn't have any logos, as you can see, so I kind of made that an option for people if they wanted to do it that way. I also have ideas for the future, like I wanted to do this hoodie that had my logo on the front and then had a license that you want in DBD kind of hashtagged on the back of it. Here are some examples of what I was talking about, but I wasn't sure if that was legal, so I just took it down for now. But the point is, I have more ideas for merchandise that are going to be coming in the future, so that's the store page, link in the description below. Anytime you buy something out of the merch store, it really supports the channel, and I'm really grateful for that. Alright, so our top 10 most hype licenses in 2022 for Dead by Daylight. The poll that we did had 144,073 votes from 14,419 participants. I did this whole tourney through a third-party website, and we actually got fewer voters. So any tournaments in the future, I'm just going to do in the community tab of my YouTube channel. First, I wanted to talk about our honorable mentions. These are 3 licenses that are just outside of the top 10. The honorable mentions this year is a Wendigo from Until Dawn, The Thing, and a Big Daddy from BioShock. The niche licenses that I talked about at the beginning of this video weren't really close to breaking into the top 10, but these 3 licenses were very close. So The Thing was actually 8th place in the 2021 tourney, but this year it placed number 12. If you recall, in the 2021 tourney, The Thing actually beat out The Walking Dead in a really crazy upset. Walking Dead really didn't do too hot this year. I'm actually kind of surprised because the final season of The Walking Dead is like right now. But anyways, The Thing only placed in 12th place in 2022. It's pretty crazy that Until Dawn and BioShock placed this high. The implications of this is that Until Dawn and BioShock are the second and third most hyped video game licenses for Dead by Daylight in 2022. There's only one video game license, I think we all know what it is, that cracked the top 10. And I also don't really consider Slenderman to be a video game license either. Number 10 is Scooby-Doo. I'm not sure which killer would come in a Scooby-Doo chapter. I mean, we just got a night killer, so I think that the classic night wouldn't really make sense from Scooby-Doo. All other killers from Scooby-Doo are literally just people wearing masks, unless you count the kind of cheesy live-action movies that came out. So I think in general, people just want to see like Mystery Inc., or at least like cosmetics from Mystery Inc. coming to Dead by Daylight. Scooby-Doo is just an honorable mention in 2021, so it actually went up in hype in 2022 and placed 10th place. At some point during the chapter 26 hype, we thought that the night might be licensed, so then the Scooby-Doo hype and the Scooby-Doo fans kind of emerged from the shadows, and I think that made this license a bit more relevant. And actually, this idea of why it placed so high really does check out, because on July 23rd is when I announced this most hyped Dead by Daylight Killers license tourney, and May 7th was the date that we kind of figured out that chapter 26 could possibly be a night. So all of the Scooby-Doo speculations and ideas and theories kind of started then, which made this license more relevant. I noticed that about these polls actually. You'll see later in the tourney, when the license becomes more relevant, the hype of the license goes up. Number 9 is Chucky from Child's Play. In 2021, Chucky placed number 7, and now Chucky is number 9. And I think in the recent past, the hype for Chucky has kind of died down because the King did an interview with Matthew Cote, and Matthew Cote kind of almost explained why we'll probably never see Chucky in Dead by Daylight. Just a couple things analyzing what Matthew Cote said about Chucky in that interview. Cote said, like, would you want to play as Victor the entire game? And the answer to that is probably not. And obviously Cote is saying, like, well, that's what a Chucky chapter would be. I think that would kind of be an interesting basis to make Chucky a legendary skin for the twins. Like, you could just make the killer Charles Lee Ray and then kind of have Chucky in his backpack, and Chucky can hop out and mechanically work the same as the twins. Like, if you're gonna say no to having Chucky as a unique character, can we at least get that? But in the back of my head, I know that some of these license holders, particularly the ones that are more familiar with the video game space, see their character as iconic and evil enough to be their own standalone chapters. We saw this with Steve Barton when people were suggesting that Art the Clown could just be a legendary skin for the clown. So would it be kind of a weird pitch from Behavior if they approached the license holders and say, hey, could we have Charles Lee Ray and Chucky as a legendary skin for the twins? I wonder if that's a possibility that's been considered, and they said, well, the license holders probably wouldn't stand for it to be just a skin in the game. Anyways, Chucky placed 9th in the tourney, and that was before Matthew Cote said all these things about Chucky, so I wonder if Chucky kind of just falls off next year if we do this tourney again. Number 8 is Candyman, and Candyman placed 5th in 2021. Although the rights to the franchise have kind of been tossed around this past year, there's been no real speculations. We still never made any sense of what Tony Todd was talking about in that tweet. Tony Todd may have not been referencing anything at all in a strange kind of way, but nonetheless, all the Candyman theories are really kind of at an all-time low right now, so that kind of makes sense for Candyman to be number 8. Some people may argue that Candyman is more of a niche license, so this actually makes more sense. But at the same time, we keep seeing that franchise come out with new sequels and reboots in the theaters. Number 7 is Predator, and Predator moved up from 10th place to number 7. This makes a lot of sense because there was a new movie that came out fairly recently, like right around the time I did the polls. The new movie was really hyped. It actually got really good ratings as well. So I wonder if that kind of affected the Dead by Daylight community and kind of the fan base and what people want to see in the game. It seems like the hype for Predator in general has really gone up in the past year. Number 6 is Slenderman, up from 9th place last year. And I feel like number 6 is really doing this IP justice because Slenderman is a crazy hyped license. I didn't even realize it until I saw the amount of interest in my channel whenever I post about Slenderman licensing. I think Slenderman has always been really hyped, but the reason that it placed 9th last year is because it was eliminated from the tournament by Pennywise early on. So the new format of the tourney kind of allowed Slenderman fans to kind of have their say, and Slender is going to be 6th place in 2022. I've been playing Slender the Arrival for the first time ever on stream, and I'm really impressed with how scary it actually is. I think it's a 2011 game, and it still is terrifying and holds up really well today. People are also really hopeful, like if we can't get this IP in Dead by Daylight, or DBD doesn't want Slenderman in the game for whatever reason, maybe we could get a new sequel Slender game. Number 5 is Pennywise. Pennywise actually placed 4th in the 2021 tourney. It's kind of interesting because Pinhead was actually in the 2021 tourney, but not in the 2022 tourney, and we're still seeing some of the big licenses get shifted downward. There's no real speculations for Pennywise in DBD right now. I actually really do believe that there's a real chance that Chapter 27 is a big license. So if it was somehow Pennywise, that would be a really crazy surprise to me. This actually is a really big license. I think that this might be Behavior's first or second most wanted license. Number 4 is the Xenomorph. There are a lot of existing and moving theories that Alien could potentially be Chapter 27 that we've covered in our video series. Make sure to check out that series if you haven't already. A lot of the really big licenses in this tournament got shifted down one because there was a really big license that was introduced this year. Number 3 is Jason Voorhees, probably one of the easiest killers that could be integrated into this game in my opinion. We have Freddy, we have Michael, and we have Bubba, and Jason kind of completes the Fantastic Four there for the slasher genre. Last year, Jason placed number 2. Now that the franchise is actually more active again and the lawsuit is officially over, people are just more hopeful that this IP actually does come into the game in 2023 at some point. Number 2 is Vecna from Stranger Things, easily the hottest new horror property out there in my opinion. There's a lot of horror franchises that are doing sequels and reboots. Vecna is easily the most hyped new property that I've seen. This is Vecna's first appearance in the most hyped licensed tourney, and Vecna placed incredibly high. I think a lot of this comes from just hope that Vecna will be coming into Dead by Daylight at some point in 2023, and this is kind of what the leaks have suggested to us at this point, although I'm kind of skeptical, which I talked about last video. Also, there's a lot of Stranger Things fans already in the DBD community because of that first Stranger Things DLC. Vecna kind of fits their profile, I think, a little bit better than even Demogorgon in Dead by Daylight. The Demogorgon is like a monster killer, so the motivation for the Demogorgon to like carry a survivor over to a hook doesn't really make a ton of sense, but Vecna is actually an evil supernatural person, which is just more in line with a lot of the killers that we see in DBD. Number Number 1 is Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. There was a time when I first released this poll that Vecna was actually beating Springtrap. And I was like, oh my gosh, is Vecna about to beat Springtrap? That would be insane because the amount of hype for Springtrap and DVD was by far the most hyped license last year. A video like this will be really interesting to rewatch if Springtrap ever does come into Dead by Daylight, because there's eventually going to be a new crowned number 1 most hyped license. And we'll always kind of remember this time when Springtrap was by far the most hyped license. I really do feel like if Springtrap ever came into Dead by Daylight, it'd be the biggest chapter we've ever seen. That includes the first Stranger Things and Resident Evil chapters. I think before the first Resident Evil chapter, Resident Evil was like the 3rd most hyped behind Springtrap and Jason. I was just breaking into the speculation scene when that chapter dropped, but just through word of mouth, I heard that Resident Evil is after Springtrap and Jason, and Resident Evil was the biggest chapter that we've ever seen, so I'd have to think that like Jason, Vecna, or Springtrap would be bigger than the first Resident Evil chapter. So these are the final standings for the most hyped licenses tourney in 2022. Are there any licenses that weren't in this tourney that you'd like to see in the polls? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And again, a reminder, I'm live on Twitch right now streaming DBD, FNAF, and Slender the Arrival. I'm really excited to do this tourney again next year. It'll be fun to see which licenses are in the game and which new licenses kind of emerge in 2023. Let me know in the comments below your personal top 5 most hyped licenses you'd want to see in Dead by Daylight. Anyways, that does it for this video. Goodbye.